Morning, everyone. Hello again. It's Tom Kissack, author of Jonathan's Tales. The scene in slide 1 illustrates notation 22 to patch up. On our continuing exciting journey of employing Jonathan's Tales as an English language learning tool. More about patch up in a while. As in the other videos, with a lapse of a week since my last one, I recap. Our current aim is to earnestly review the numerous 78 notations, sayings, phrases, and proverbs, peppering with literary enrichment tale 3. Progress is now tangible with the 4 introductory videos and the now 4 separate videos, parts 1, 2, 3, and 4, of reviewing the idioms within the Parrot and the Woodpecker tale. Also including the idioms arising from the video narration, we've already under our belt perused more than 70 idioms, phrases, etc. So this is today's business, to patch something up, to have something under one's belt, to make headway, dead shot, double quick time, to slip or fall under the radar, something afoot, cutting 19 to the dozen, to get a word in edgeways, any stretch of the imagination. Let us now turn to notation 22 in the story. Prior to reviewing this saying, we shall look at the text narrative, introducing this in the book. The skirmish with the locals now ended, perhaps best described on the pirate side as an embarrassing rout. The pirates mostly all managed to get back on the ship, with thankfully minimum casualties. Those injured were taken to the sick bay for the ship's doctor to patch up, well, as best he could, that is. To patch up, this phrase, in its common usage, many will know as to deal with a problem, a disagreement, etc., in order to improve or repair a relationship. So they patched up their relationship. Other examples of this interpretation are below. But as in all language, certain things have multiplicity of meanings, and in this case it refers to injured parrots being given quick and usually temporary medical treatment. With the other examples, this phrase for you to contemplate. This slide introduces the idiom arising in the video narration, to have something under one's belt. If I was asked, not knowing the meaning of this phrase, I would instantly deduce, or rather hazard a guess, it was something secretive or arcane that someone was trying to hide. As you will see, it actually means something completely different to this. To have something under one's belt essentially means to have already achieved, learned, or experienced something important, often as a result of hard work and practice. I do rather still, despite natural and erroneous inclinations of interpretation, love this rather colloquial idiom. And the 2 other examples here, gild the lily. The latter phrase, gild the lily, I use and explain in the introductory videos. Please have a gander at these additional examples at your leisure. Now we can pounce eagerly upon note 23 and the phrase to make headway. Brings me to an interesting learning cue, in that all students might pitch an initial opinion about perhaps the obvious meaning of this saying. And actually, I would encourage you to do this on all our work as we work together. Pourquoi? As the French ask, why? It is that pitching an opinion as described above, trying initially elucidate what each phrase means, opens up inadvertently and naturally new neuron networks within the brain. Once established, the true meaning of the phrase, the brain already has an etched portal pathway to that saying. Thus, it can easily tag it with the added true emphasis and embed the true meaning of the phrase in memory. So note 23's book narrative introducing the phrase to make headway. The captain pirate, who kept a minimum of 3 pistols by his side while sleeping, ripped one out from his waist belt and fired at the bird. Excuse me, missing it with his first shot. The second took a wing off. The bird strangely didn't mind and just continued pecking because he was hungry, having just been born. He was, in fact, massively hungry. The captain pirate eyed the bird and realized that little headway had been made. The phrase to make headway described in the book as to move forward or make progress. So in this instance, not making headway is the captain pirate doing the opposite in his purported aim to stop the woodpecker from pecking. 2 other excellent examples of making headway are here for you to peruse. The slide invites you to consider the phrase dead shot. Before we seek explanation, let us enjoy the book's narrative preceding this phrase. The captain pirate eyed the bird and realized that little headway had been made. Observing it still bashing at the mast, undeterred, he fired again, taking the second wing clean off. Having briefly admired his excellent handiwork, for all on the ship knew he was a dead shot, he delightedly proclaimed, "Yeah, all sorted." Dead shot is reviewed as a noun, an unerring marksman. Being a dead shot refers to having exceptional accuracy and marksmanship skills with a firearm. The term dead shot implies that the person is so skilled with a gun that the shots are almost certain to hit the intended target with near fatal or dead accuracy. And here are 2 other examples to whet your appetite for this interesting phrase, dead shot. This slide draws us to note 25, double quick time. Although this phrase for most would be self-explanatory, it is reviewed as we must never become complacent and allow little gems to slide under the radar, for I have a firm view each and all additions to our spoken language build up the enriching arsenal of linguistics to be at one's disposal. Let's first look at the text narrative in the book. The captain pirate speaking. "Oi, get those eggs on the way. Get one of the lads to take them to the cook. Wake him up if necessary. I'm starving." Excuse me. Ollie obeyed his master in double quick time, himself relishing the prospect of eggs for breakfast. Double quick time is reviewed at the book's end simply as in a very quick time. And here are 2 more examples. I wonder how many in the past have been guilty of example 2. Let us read it, shall we? He finished his homework in double quick time so he could join his friends at the park before sunset. Before we continue with the notes in the book, let us pause to review the phrase to slip or fall under the radar arising in the video narration. Phrase I remember having origins in one of my own former careers in air traffic control. Slipping or falling under the radar means something or someone is being unnoticed or ignored, often because of lack of attention or perceived lack of importance. We see here provision of further examples of this quite unusual phase that you would, I'm sure, stun your acquaintances if you casually weave it into your conversation. This slide introduces note 26, something afoot. A phrase that makes me smile as it has seemingly almost comical implications. Nothing could be further from the truth. Before we learn its true explanation, let us refer to the book narrative preceding it. Unbeknown to the captain, pirate, and Feathers, there were other things beyond the ship afoot. Things happening in tandem with all the unfolding drama of a woodpecking bird. The sea fairy had by chance been in the ship's vicinity. The book reviews book review take on something afoot. If you say something like a plan or a scheme is afoot, it is already happening or being planned, but you do not know much about it. This slide offers two other examples of something being foot. You have a peek at them when you can. Slide 17 draws our focus to a quaint old-fashioned, lovely phrase in the story, phrase I adore. Note 27, cutting 19 to the dozen. That's the book narrative. The sea fairy had by chance been in the ship's vicinity. He was by nature a kind soul, and whilst chatting away 19 to the dozen to a friend Sammy Seagull, they both riding the waves up and down. The note at the book end gives elucidation to this charming phase, explained as to speak rapidly and without stopping. And the illustration depicts the woman in the centre as such, with the other two either side not being able to get a word in edgeways. I have unwittingly in our oration introduced another idiom, which, as it is so closely related to chatting 19 to the dozen, or rather the latter, causes often the former. I will deal with it now rather than apportion any special focus. So the idiom not to be able to get a word in edgeways means to be unable to speak or interject because someone else is talking incessantly and not allowing you to contribute to the conversation. It implies a situation where one person dominates the conversation, making it difficult for others to get a turn to speak. I wonder if the reader has had any experience of another chatting 19 to the dozen. And here we have a couple more examples of chatting 19 to the dozen for you to have a look at. So to slide 19. Here we have a rather odd phase encapsulated in note 28, by any or no stretch of the imagination. Perhaps the book's text might help shed some light upon this interesting phase. The sea fairy is speaking to her friend, Sammy Seagull. I quite agree with that parrot's comment. It is not genuinely nice by any stretch of the imagination blowing a poor bird's wings off. The book notes at the end explain by any stretch of the imagination as being used to emphasize something is not true or does not happen. Explaining further, by any stretch of the imagination emphasizes that something is not true, possible, or correct, even with a significant effort to imagine it otherwise. It means that something is definitely not the case, and there is no way to view it as being so, even with the most creative thought. These two additional examples give increased clarity to this phrase. You mull them over when you can. My last idiom, or rather phrase this week, is highlighted as note 29, still as a mill pond. First, the book's narrative to place this phrase. Resolving to intervene, the sea fairy that is, she flew over to the mast, where the woodpecker was sitting, still as a mill pond. On touching her shoulder, the seafarer asked kindly, "Where do you come from? You don't belong on a ship." The note's explanation at the book end describes being still or calm as a mill pond, principally in respect to a mill pond's location. A mill pond is a reservoir of water behind a dam used for driving a mill wheel and is normally very calm and not choppy. So from this we can deduce the woodpecker, having lost his wings, was sitting very still and quiet. As this is more or less a factual statement, I will resist offering other examples of this phrase. Before I close, I will give you a heads up. Another idiom about my intended and deliberate interruption to continue reviewing the 78 idioms, etc., of Jonathan's Tales, Parrot and the Woodpecker, as there is a story, true story, I wish to relate about my past. The text in this slide and the image maybe gives a hint, but it is a fact. Some 20 years ago, I worked at a university and a Chinese couple came into my office intending to study a PhD. It is their story I wish to tell next, anonymously, of course, and yet it is one that remains in my own heart as this couple followed and realized their dreams. It is something I earnestly wish for you to do too. Follow your dreams, that is. Well, listen to their story and then you will know precisely what I mean. I perceive in this narrative several other idioms have popped up. Ask me about heads up and willy-nilly by email if you dare. So that's it for now. We managed in this video at the close to review just over a quarter of the idioms, phrases, etc. in the Parrot and the Woodpecker. I do hope you enjoyed today's visit to Jonathan's Tales and learned, and hopefully will in time take on board the phrases I reviewed here. I myself personally love to learn new things, try to do so each and every day. I'm amazed so early on in this fabulous story, me as author seemed by default to have picked up many pertinent words and phrases connected with the theme. That said, I have a confession. Within that, a personal family refutation. My family comes from a long line of sailors, both fishermen and merchant, Royal Navy personnel, and yet it was not a profession I took up. Be assured, more nautical phrases and facts will be reviewed to savour as we continue with this seafaring story, The Parrot and the Woodpecker. However, you will see a different focus on other broader subject matter across the different tales. Focus on science, history, biology, language, geology, evolution. The list is endless that Jonathan Tales will keep on giving, bring you to my determined personal aim. You will, I promise, become a consummate English language conversationalist. That said, on a continued quizzical note, perhaps I picked up these seafaring terms, indeed, all the many multiple hundreds of idioms across Jonathan's Tales in my extensive readings across the years. Anyway, I look forward to returning next week to review and evaluate another 10 or 20 idioms in the same tale. As I said in my earlier videos, having the book on hand will confer a decided advantage to follow and refer later on everything that we say in the video. I hope you will manage to purchase the book to help you in this de facto course of English idioms. But it is not impossible to get the benefit of the magic of Jonathan's Tales as an English language learning tool without the book. So until next week, as the French say, au revoir, literally translated, see you again. Bye bye for now.